Good morning and welcome, successful salon team roomers. How are you this morning? You have Jen and Ken live in the house this morning, chatting some financials. So if you don't have a pen and paper with you, I suggest you go and get one, because this man's brain is so worth noting every little bit down. You can really make some changes in your business. So good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Jen. So I'm just turning phones off here.
Oh.
I realised I hadn't turned them off. It's funny you saying that. I love it when you say that I'm amazing, which of course I am. But something happened yesterday, and I don't know if you saw when I did that recording with Andrew Barton, and we joked because I did the first 10 minutes without hitting record.
Yeah.
So we had to start again. But I did, as you know, I'm holding Zoom meetings on a regular basis with the members, and I don't normally record those because, you know, we do another one and then another one. And I got cut off yesterday, and I don't know what, my laptop started rebooting itself. It decided to do so. It just cut me off totally, shut me out, and closed down. I don't know what's that. And then when it started up, there was a man telling me that I've now got a virtual assistant, a virtual narrator. What that means, I don't know. But he was telling me stuff. He's gone today, fortunately. I don't know where he's gone, but he's gone. He hasn't piped up yet today. Anyway, apparently now I have a virtual narrator if I want one. And I didn't know I ever needed one or what one was. But anyway, once I got back into the meeting, we started talking about something. And this morning I've got a message from a member, and he said, you know, when you came back into that meeting, you told us the story. And if we remember today, it was the story about Richard John.
Yeah.
Okay. And that you said, you know, you thought that was your story, but it wasn't. Okay. And we might tell that today if we got time, because he said that was so inspiring that I need to talk to you today, because I need to start doing what you were telling me to do. And it's funny how these things, as you said, you never know what's going to come out of this crazy brain.
No, it downloads all the time, your brain.
It what? Sorry?
It downloads, like stuff just comes to you, through you, and out of you.
It's weird. Stuff just comes in, and I think, I don't know where that came from. And as you know, if you're me in the room, quite often I say, write that down, Jen. Yeah. But, you know, anyway, it's great to be, and it's great to talk to people, and it's great to make people think. As I always say, and I've said to you in all the times I've known you, my role is not to tell you what to do. It's to make you think about what you do, and it's to plant seeds in your head that makes you come up with the right decisions of how you run your business. You can do whatever you want in your business. All the people that are listening to us today can do whatever they want in their business. But sometimes you need someone to channel your thinking. Sometimes you need the expression, you don't know what you don't know. And you need someone sometimes to point out the things that you don't know so that you start acting upon them. So I'm never claimed to have the answers to everything. All I want to do is make people think about the challenges that they've got coming their way. And I know some of the stuff that we've decided to talk about today, some people might go, oh, you know, and he's gloomy and he's talking to, and I'm not gloomy. You know, I'm not. You know that whenever I beat you over the head with a stick, whenever I kick you up the bum, it's for a good reason. Yeah. It's absolutely always with love. And sometimes, you know, we're going through these times, and they are hard times, and we've all gone up and down, but you can't go through it just believing the world's fluffy, because the world's not all fluffy. And it's nice to be fluffy, but if all you've got is fluff, you can't deal with the shit. So we'll talk about some of that later, but it's nice. I can't see anyone popping up. Have we got anyone on today at all?
There's 20 on there, so we've got
nothing's coming up in the stream down the side of mine, so that's fine. As long as you can see it, Jen, that's fine.
Comments.
Sorry?
You clicked on the top one that says comments.
Oh no, it says private chat. Have I got a live comments?
Yeah, right at the top.
Oh, that'll be the one then. Yeah, that's the one. Oh, there they are. That's good.
Everyone: Liam, Deanne, Katie, Sam, Vicky from Alternate Styles, Gemma, Nikki, Claire. Hello.
Technology is a great thing. Should we tell everybody about my new mic where I can talk?
Yeah.
Look, biggest mic on the world, guys. I bet you all want a mic like that. Jen's envious of my mic. Yeah, envious.
I made him test it out before we went live.
I don't fart because you'll be in big trouble, you know.
That might be what happened.
It might be, yeah. I might have farted yesterday and it cut me off.
Last night at 4:04 in the morning.
I saw you put up, yeah.
The whole house shook, the whole house, and like this rumbling sound. So it might have been you. Or your mic.
That might have been you.
Yeah, one of my friends would say that. Definitely wasn't me. So what challenges, let's talk about the challenges that we've got coming up to face us, because I think if we are pre-warned and we have done a little bit of work around the warnings that we're getting, then we are pre-armed and we know where we're going. And when we know when we're going, we know how to get there. So what kind of challenges are we going to be coming up against real soon?
Okay, well, the first thing I think we should do is establish where we are. I don't know if any of you were watching Boris yesterday. And I've been quite a fan of the government during the process because I think they've done a lot to help us. But yesterday, Jesus Christ, that man was just a bumbling idiot. And I was actually cooking the dinner. Right? I was cooking the dinner. And he said, okay, from next week, all shops can open or something like that. And I wrote down what he said. And I thought, what? And I went into panic. And then it transpired that he didn't mean all shops, because hairdressers are shops. What he meant was retail outlets, okay, which was what they'd previously said.
Yeah.
He bumbled this out, and this stuff just throws people into panic. It threw me into panic, and I didn't see. I don't know if you know, when you watch the briefings in the afternoon, they have these little tabs going along the bottom. Now, I was so focused on him and the rubbish that he was talking, I didn't see the tabs along the bottom spooling. Yeah. And apparently they cleared up in there that hairdressers and restaurants were out of it. But by then I was panicking. I'm texting Hilary Hall of the NHF going, Boris has just said, and she went, and actually she said, I know, he needs to think about his words. But these things throw us.
Yeah.
And we need to be very careful. Because in fact, I think there's a feeling of calm at the moment. Most of the people that I know that are running salons have got everything under control.
Yeah.
They've kind of lined up whatever PPP they're going to put into place, although we don't yet know exactly what we're going to have to do. But they know they're prepared, they're ready. They've worked out their schedules for their teams. If they're going to change their hours, they've worked those out. But we'll talk about that later, because there could be some issues coming our way with that. They've got that all worked out. So they've got their plans done. If there's anyone in this room listening now that hasn't done that, then that's the first kick up the bum, all right? Because if you haven't done that, get it sorted. And what I'm telling people to look at now is I'm calling it sellable stylist hours. So that's a term that you and I will now be working on a lot in the courses that we run, okay? New thing that's come out, sellable stylist hours. Because if I've got Jen working for me for 40 hours a week, I haven't got 40 hours of her time a week to sell throughout the year, because Jen has holidays and sickness and whatever. So it's actually looking at the true number of sellable hours that you've got to use in your business, and then planning your business based upon those sellable hours. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a chesty cough at the moment. I'm not dying, don't worry. I suffer from hay fever, and I think it's a bit bad at the moment. So it's looking at those sort of things. So if there's people in this room that have not done those sort of things, forget about PPI, forget about all that, forget about the panics and God knows. People are going, oh, are you going to do this? Forget about that, and actually stop being concerned about what other people are doing and just focus on yourself, what you're doing. Because just because someone else is doing something does not mean it's right, okay? And also listen to the right people. Yeah. I put on our page yesterday, as you probably saw, someone had heard something from someone, and I said, look, just listen to 3 places as far as 365 members are concerned. Either listen to the government, listen to the NHBF, or listen to us. Apart from that, don't listen to anything else, because we get so much coming in from all over the place. Ireland's are doing one thing, Scotland are doing one thing, Wales are doing, Spain's doing, and everyone goes, well, that, and it just, it's Chinese whispers, and it does our bloody heads in. So stop, forget that. The government, as far as we're concerned, we're not opening until the 4th of July. The government will announce, I think it's the 18th, they're planning to tell us that whether that's definite or not, and they're planning to give us the outline of what we're going to have to do in place. So apart from that, anything else you see, any other speculation, any other bits in the newspaper of salons getting ready and loyal articles and all that sort of thing, it's just speculation, and it screws you in the head. And why I know it screws you, because yesterday I nearly dropped the dinner when I heard Boris going that, and it messed me up. And I'm thinking, I actually went, Jen, I went, I'm not ready to go back to work next week. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And I know, and we'll talk about this today, I know that if I'm feeling like that, you're probably feeling like that, because I know you haven't been out of that bedroom for 15 weeks, you know. True? Yeah. Anyway, so forget all that stuff at the moment. Now, I want to focus people on truly understanding what their business is going to look like when they come out of this. And you're going to have 2, possibly 3 phases. And we talk about the new norm. Sorry, my fingers went the wrong way there. That way.
Front.
We're going to have when you get back, which, depending on the size of your salon, and I know with Jen's salon, she's got a lot of space. And she's got a team that she doesn't need to split up. So she'll be able to generate the sort of money that she needs to generate. But we're going to have salons where they're challenged by space, challenged with their teams, and they won't be able to operate at full capacity. So therefore, they won't be able to generate the sums of money that potentially they could generate. We discuss need to generate in a minute, but they could generate. So you need to understand in your salon what your business is going to look like. And you don't need to ask anybody else for that, because for the time being, all we can think about is there 2 meter space between each chair, right? And there either is or there isn't. And are we going to deal with customers? And the other thing that I see people doing is they're going, what are you doing clients in between tents, or aren't you doing? Well, Jen might be doing it, but it doesn't mean I can do it. It doesn't mean I've got the space, the facilities, or the team to do it. It doesn't mean my guests are going to want to be passed from pillar to post with someone else doing their shampoo and someone else doing their color and so on. So it's not a case of what is anybody else doing. You have to do what's right for you.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how you feel. Let's pretend you were a customer, Jen. If you were going back into a salon where you're fearful and you're apprehensive, would you want 2 or 3 people involved with your process, or would you want one? Now, we're not saying this is right or wrong. So whoever's listening, don't go, Ken said this, Ken said that, because I'm not saying. What I'm saying is you need to think about your business and do what's right for your business. Now, if you're not going to be able to do those customers in between, or even if you are, you've still got to think about the logistics, because if I've got someone that's being cut in between a color, and then I've got to move that other, I've either got to have lots of spare chairs, which aren't then going to be used when I'm not doing that. Does that make sense? So I might go, well, okay, Jen, I'm going to use 2 chairs for you so that you can have a cut and a color going on. But now, and then what happens to those when you're not using them? Okay, so when you've not got a color going on in between, a cut going on in between the color. So whilst you're putting the color on and whilst you're cutting that color client, that other chair's got to be available for your one that you're doing in the middle. And then when that's not being done, that chair's just sitting useless for those other 2 chunks of time of yours. Does that make sense? So unless you can form out some choreography in your salon, or you've got some chairs that you could just use for that time, you've got to think that real one through. Because there are times when we get in salons, you know, clients sitting here, they're sitting at the base, and they're sitting. That merry-go-round I don't believe should happen. I'm sure it will happen, but it shouldn't happen. So you actually need to understand in your salon how you're going to make this work, so that you can try and figure out how much money you're going to generate. So your plan now has got to be what we refer to in 365 as stylist income forecasting. You've got to plan what money you think you're going to be able to generate for the team, for the sellable stylist hours that you've got in your salon. Okay. Now within 365, we've got the tools to do that. And I've got, you know, members already doing that. If you're not part of 365 and you haven't got those tools, try and use whatever tools you've previously used before for planning your income. And if you're sitting there going, I don't know what that man is talking about, then you need to find out about planning your income. Because people say to us, well, I've got no idea what my income's going to be. No, you don't know exactly, but I can have like a cloudy crystal ball where I can say, well, Jen works for me and she used to do this. Now I can plan that she's going to do that in the future based upon certain scenarios. So if I know she's going to have more clients, she'll have more income. If I know she might have less clients because of my chair challenges, then I can plan her income. It's all relevant to your salon. And it's not something that me or Jen or anyone can go, well, this is the answer. It's a process that if you've never done before, you need to learn how to do it. Yeah. You can't just bumble on hoping it's going to be right. And I'll tell you why. Did you want to speak at all ever, Jen? I'll let you know when you can talk. So don't worry.
Have you got the clicker?
No, but it doesn't matter. I'll just keep talking. I'll unplug it. You see, the thing is, when you come out of this, as I said, you're going to have these different periods. You're going to have the period where you get back, where you're so desperate to fit everybody in that you'll have clients coming out of your ears. I'm not going to say necessarily money coming out of your ears, but clients coming out of your ears. Because remember, if you're challenged with your teams and your times and your spacing, you won't necessarily be able to generate the turnover that previously you could have done. But you'll have this busy time where life will seem frenetic. And remember, it will seem even more frenetic because if you've got to spend a day working behind a mask, you've got to spend a day doing things that you've never done before, all this cleaning, God knows what else, you will feel really, really tired at the end of the day. So every day will seem harder and more frenetic than it used to be. Now, once we've got that period over, so all the people that have got this pent-up demand have been in, and we've done them. They've all had the colours, and if I had to put a time on that, I'd probably say maybe, because you and I know that the average client comes, what is it, Jen? 10.4 weeks?
It's nearer 11 now.
Yeah, so 10.4, 11 weeks, right? And if you don't know what your average frequency of visit is, your computer system that you use, I don't know why I went like that, because computer systems aren't round, but you know what I mean. That's it. Your computer system should be able to tell you. And if you don't know how to find it out, get on the phone to your computer system company and say, I want to know that number. So, but if we think about that, by the time 12 weeks have gone, all that pent up demand is gone and we'll be back to normal. Okay. Now, the reality is, and I'm going to whisper this on my new sexy microphone, is that we will have lost some guests. Yeah. We've got to be honest. There are people out there, and you know, because I've shared the funny story of my partner, Jane.
Yeah. I've
coloured her hair in lockdown with a box colour because I didn't have access to anything else because I don't have stuff at home, which I know is a cardinal sin, right? Hands up, it's a cardinal sin. But it turned out so well that her sister, right, said, Ken, what should I use? Now, okay, they're both lucky because I could figure out what color they should use so they didn't have a disaster. And we know there's going to be hundreds of disasters out there. But amongst the hundreds of disasters, let's get real, there are going to be some people that go, well, actually, that cost me £7 and it's great. Because Jane's hair is great, her sister's hair is great. And they're both now going, well, I'm not going back to the salon again. Now, they struck lucky because I could give them a choice of colour. Yeah. And we know there'll be disasters, but there'll be some that will be lucky. So I think we will lose some of those people that we weren't creative with. Yeah. You know, the ones where we were boring and we slapped on the same colour every 6 weeks because that's same colour, is it? Whack. You know, rose, is it? Whack. So we never did anything creative. And I think we could lose a percentage of those clients that we weren't that creative with. Now, so we could have a dip. Once we've got the tsunami over, I think we could have a dip before we get back into normal.
Yeah.
And where we're going to get that back is creativity. We have got to prove that what we do is drastically different to what people can achieve at home. And for those salons that have a massive retouch market, I think that could be damaged now. And okay, that sounds like the voice of doom, but I think we have to be realistic. I think there are going to be some people that go, do you know what? We don't need to go back. And they'll just turn into cuts. So your average income from that guest will drop during the year. So you could have a dip on that. Unless you get them back and you do something amazing with them. This is why, you know, we've always said we want chemically dependent clients. We want people that that are coming to us for colour, but they can't just come for regrowths.
Yeah.
Because what I hate to say, Jen, is the stuff I used was bloody good.
What did you use? Actually, I don't even want to know.
No, you don't want to know, but you know it was made by a major manufacturer. Let's be honest, you know, there's brands out there that come from some of the brands that we use. You probably don't use it, but you know, they do. And they come under different names. And the brand I used didn't have the brand that I thought it was on the front. But when I researched online, that brand owned that brand, which owned that brand. So it's all, you know, all comes out of the big. So the stuff wasn't rubbish. And it produced a good result. So I don't mean to be doomy there. What I do mean to be is say, we need to make sure that when we get back in, our team are prepared for this. They're going to have some people that they'll lose, and they mustn't get upset about it. They're going to have some people that they're going to have to fix, right? And they need to have enough knowledge to fix them. So if you're a salon where you need to split your team into two, whoops, there it is, two, make sure that each one of those teams has got an expert in that team. Someone that any one of your team can go to and say, look, I've got this head. I'm not sure what to do with it. Because you've got people working for you that have only ever done a little regrowth. They've never done a big regrowth, and they'll start getting banding. They won't know what to do with a 2-inch regrowth. They won't know what to do with a head that's had colour on it, that's had a home colour on it. They won't know what to do with those things. And if you have got shifts going on, sometimes there's someone in your salon that's got the knowledge. Now that knowledge might not be in both teams if you're doing shifts. So make sure you've got someone in both teams. And if not, the person that's got the knowledge in your salon has a phone glued to their lug hole so that, you know, someone can get in touch with them. Otherwise, you'll have people panicking and causing more problems. We don't want any of that. And one thing I am going to say here and now, none of you, don't you ever do any of those clients without re-skin testing them.
No.
Okay? Because I think if you check your regulations, they are probably now out of the period where you could just have done a repeat color. Check with your brand, but please make sure you follow all the guidelines.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to find is that your manufacturer says if someone hasn't had a color for the last 3 months, they've got to have another skin test. You don't do it, you get a reaction, you get sued, and your insurance won't pay out. So there's a man just dumping a parcel on my drive. I'll just say thank you to him.
We're going to be re-skin testing everyone that comes into the salon for colour, because they've rested. They've, you know, their body is in a completely different chemical state now that they've been off. And even the team, you know, because I skin test my team every 6 months. They're not coming back without a skin test. Our clients aren't coming back without a skin test. It's really important.
I think sometimes we forget that. We forget that our team handle the colour. Mm-hmm. So our team can react to it as well. So, yeah, that's very important, Jen. Skin test everybody. And how you manage to do that, I don't know. Because you've got people coming in on day one. So you've got to make sure that you either, you know, use the ones you can send out, or you get them in beforehand, or whatever. What are you doing, Jen? How are you managing it?
Crossed, I'll be allowed to open the retail front of the shop. I'm just waiting for clarification from environmental health. And I've asked that specific question. So if I can open the retail section, can I perform skin tests? Because then I've got those 2 to 3 weeks where I can get everyone in and get their skin test done, and off they go. If not, I will probably be driving around like a freaking nutter doing drive-by skin tests.
Well, I think as far as opening the retail section is concerned, the information that we're getting so far, excuse me, and we have had mixed information. And the information we're getting so far, because if you refer to the NHF, the information they got was that you can do click and collect.
Yeah. Now,
click and collect is someone calls up, orders the product, they come to the salon, and I don't know if you've been to Halfords or Screwfix or someone like that. They've got a desk just inside the door. You go up to that, you tell them the number of your order, they put the product there. So that's click and collect. So as far as Hillary's aware, we've been given the okay to click and collect. Now, we have got salons that have contacted, because I've said to salons, contact your local council, because it's the council that will police this. The environmental health, the health and safety, whatever. The council will police this because they've got inspectors going out into the streets. So check with them. And if you do open, and we've had salons that have been given the green light to open as a retail outlet. So I think, and this is just my opinion based upon information from salons that have checked with their councils, if that sentence made sense, is that those that have checked, they've been told that yes, they can, providing they comply with all the regulations. Now, what I would also say is you've got to make sure that it's very clear that your salon isn't open. So you know that yellow and black, there's a dead body murder scene tape, you know the stuff. I'd make sure that that separates your retail area from the salon, and that it's really, really obvious that your salon is not functioning as a salon.
Yeah.
The other thing about retail is who's going to do it. Now, if you're the salon owner and you're not on furlough, then you can go in there. If you're anybody else, would have to be taken off of furlough to go in to operate the retail. So what I've said to 365 salons is great. It's a great idea if you've got a good retail business. If you're the salon that does 50 quid or 100 quid a week in retail and you've got to pull someone off furlough, remembering that for every £100 worth of retail you sell, there's probably only about £25 worth, £30 worth of net profit in that. You've got to sell a lot of products to justify putting someone off of furlough to open that retail outlet. So do the maths. Now, I know salons that actually, they're going in because they do wagon loads of retail. But if you don't think, is it worthwhile for the aggravation that's involved? And you will get people coming in and you will get people pestering you. And I don't know what the regulation is really on even taking appointments, because technically appointments is generating income for the business, not now, but later.
Yeah.
So, if you think about it, because the idea of furlough or non-furlough, although I suppose if you're off of furlough, you can do work that generates money for the business, but you mustn't do any work for the salon at all. So that's an interesting thing, that retail side.
I'm going to bring my little desk out of my office and I'm going to put it across the bit that's from my retail desk, that like the walkway into the salon, so no one can get through, and I'm going to sit there and work and get up and sell a bit of retail and do a few skin tests.
I don't know why you haven't just been lowering it out your bedroom window in a bucket, to people driving past. That's click and collect, Jen. You could have done click and collect already. And they could have had a walk along the harbour at the same time, couldn't they? Lovely. So getting back to what we were talking about, we talked about thinking about your income, for the future. Now, surprisingly enough, we've already covered half an hour. I've just looked at my watch, Jen. How have you managed to talk non-stop for half an hour? That's what I want to know.
For everyone
I've not had a word edgeways. Anyway, the next thing I want people to focus on is seriously understanding the commitments that they may have made during this process. There are many people out there that will have taken out loans to see them through. Now, you and I, as coaches, know that we had people that 2 weeks after lockdown were panicking because they didn't have any money to pay the wages. Now, if someone's panicking because they didn't have the wages, then they've got a cash flow issue. Because remember, we didn't pay the VAT that was due just before lockdown. So every salon out there should have had this sounds terrible, I'm going to say, every salon out there should have had at least 3 months VAT money sitting in their bank account, ready to go to the VAT man. Now, if you're sitting there going, oh, I didn't, then you're already running your business badly, because that money is not yours. It's never money that you should be able to dip into. So you should have had it there ready to pay. Now, when they postponed that payment, and remember, the word is postpone, not cancel. So you will have to pay it. When they postponed that payment, you should have had all that money that would have covered you for your payroll and any other expenses for that short period of time. And yet we have people who were running out of money straight away. Now, what does that say to me? That says to me that their cash flow management in their business is poor. Now, if their cash flow management in their business was poor before they went into this, it's going to be poor when they came out of this. So if you've already gone, I don't know what he's talking about with stylist income forecast. And you're now going, I don't know what he's talking about with cash flow. Then you need to join 365, or you need to find out where you can learn about this stuff, because here's the voice of doom, right? There are many people that had to take out loans during this process. Now, I'm going to say something else that some of you out there will understand and some of you won't. And every time I say something that you don't understand, just go, Jesus, I need to learn this stuff somewhere. Every one of you will have done a break even for your salon. Yeah. Okay. And I'm pretending that everyone is nodding, and they will say yes, but many of them will have done a break even when they first opened. Someone did it 10 years ago or a year ago. And you and I, because we coach this stuff, know that that number that they're working to wasn't relevant 3 months after they first figured out the number. Okay. So, and we know that. Now, what I did, and I shared this with Jen before we started here today. Yesterday, I played around with some break evens. There's some dummy numbers that we use for examples. And I've also done it on some real salons, because I know salons that have taken out loans. And there will be some people in this room today that have taken out loans. And you need to understand how that loan will affect your break even. Because if you haven't worked out your break even, factoring in the loan repayments, because what's happening is people are sitting there at the moment going, I've got a loan and I haven't got to pay it back. Because you don't have to pay it back for a year. And there's no interest for a year, and you haven't have to pay any fees. So that's money from heaven. The trouble is, heaven comes back and bites you. Yeah. Now, I had one person that I spoke to, and I said, because they took out a loan, and I said, would you mind sharing me the terms of your loan? How much you're going to have to pay when you come back? And they sent me some numbers, and I looked at the numbers and did the maths, and I said, I'm sorry, these numbers don't stack up to me. They didn't even pay back the capital, right? So I said, I think you might have something wrong here. And they went back and looked at their agreement and went, oh, yeah, got the wrong number. Okay. So they hadn't even read the T's and C's in the agreement. And let's be honest, someone comes along with a gift from heaven that you need. You take it. Yeah. And we don't read the T's and C's. Who ever read the T's and C's when they bought their iPhone or their iPad or signed up to Apple, right? No. How many times do we just go, Apple, agree, right? We don't do any of the T's and C's. And suddenly we find out, just like we're finding out now with insurance. True?
Yeah.
If we'd all read the T's and C's, we would have known that we weren't covered for COVID, but we didn't, because we didn't read the bloody T's and C's. We assumed they would cover us because that's what we bought insurance for. So the next thing you've learned today is don't assume anything. Make sure you check it.
Ask that of you and me.
Correct. So what I've done with some salons, and I've looked at how when they start paying back their loan in a year's time, how that will affect their break even. And it scared the bejeebers out of me. Because if you've got an £800 a month payment to make, you haven't just got to generate an extra £800 a month. Because that payment comes out of after your direct costs come out. So it comes out after wages, and Jen and I coach this, so we understand this. And it doesn't come out of headline sales. No. So you have to generate way more money to pay back £800 than £800. And in fact, on the dummy example that I did this morning, which was based upon a salon generating about £5.5K a week, they would have to generate over £2,000 a week more to even scratch at that loan. Now, how on earth, because that salon at the moment is probably sitting there going, oh, I can't put my prices up. I can't charge people for, I can't. We put our prices up 2 years ago. We can't go. I saw someone the other day, they hadn't put their price up for 6 years, and they're going to now raise it 6%. No, then they're going to put it up 6%. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ. Okay. And sadly, I love this business with a passion. You know I do. I'm a hairdresser through and through. But sometimes we are just dumb because we're so passionate about what we do, and that we don't learn the stuff that we don't want to learn.
Yeah.
And actually coming out of this, understanding your numbers of your business is going to be way more important than knowing how to cut hair and fix colors. Seriously, guys. And I say that because, and I've said this to Jen, I've said this to other people, the problem's not going to be when we come back. The problem's going to be in 18 months to 2 years. We're going to see salons just killed by their debt burden. Now, if you're lucky and you haven't had to borrow a single penny, what's happened? I was chatting to Jen, and Jen said, I've been lucky, I haven't had to borrow money. Yes, she has. She's had to lend it to herself from her own funds. So as far as the business is concerned, technically, true, Jen?
Yeah.
The business has had a technical injection from you.
Yeah.
So in theory, that business owes you money. It has a debt to you, true, in the books. So that seriously affected the value of your business.
Yeah.
Now you can write that off, but technically your business now has a debt burden, albeit that debt is to yourself.
Yeah.
But if you run your business as a limited company, not a sole trader, and if you think of the business as a business, and the trouble is most hairdressers don't, they think of it as them, and it's not, it's a business. That business now has a debt, and in theory, that would have to be repaid. Now, it's lovely that Jen's been able to put that money in, but actually, that was Jen's money. And at some stage, that business should pay it back to her. True, Jen?
Yeah, I'm going to write it on a receipt.
You were gonna use that money for something. You didn't have that just sitting there going, oh, isn't it nice to have money? You'd got something earmarked for that. You could have had a whatever, you know. So we need to think as business people, because this stuff's going to catch us if we're not careful. And anyone in this meeting today that has not understood any of the things that we've talked about, find out how to understand them. Seriously, find out how to understand the stuff that you don't currently understand.
I know that, because I didn't even know what a break even was when I first joined 365. And when Ken was like, he was in the classroom talking, and I'm like listening, and he's like talking about break even and average bill, and I'm sitting there thinking, what bloody hell is this man going on about? But yeah, and I hated it when I first went home and started to crunch the numbers in the way that Ken had taught me. I sat and cried. I was like, I'm dead. I'm literally dead. My business is gone. But he helped me to resurrect it. So if you don't know what it is, then absolutely find out, reach out, get an idea on what these things are, and the fact that 365 are there and that they can help you. You know, we would love you guys to come and join us, to be able to move yourself out of the position that you're in and into the next level of your business, like that they did for me. We've got a Facebook user here. At the minute, I'm paying $3,000.
I know, I'm just reading that, Jen.
Off of my startup loan. When my bounce back loan kicks in, if we max it out, that initial loan will be gone, and my payment's £700 a month. Oh, I thought it was going up another £700.
Well, no, they've restructured their loan there. They haven't reduced their liabilities. They've just restructured their loan. So they've done a bit of smart think, but they still need to calculate, you know, what they need to generate to cover that. Because actually, a £3,000 a month loan was, you know, repayment was massive. Actually, it was interesting, Jen, because what time we got to finish? Because we've done nearly 40 minutes now.
I'm okay.
Okay. Because I think we could tell that story that you thought was you, right? You know, yeah. I did something with Jen when she first joined, because Jen's business, and she said this many times, Jen's business was not in a great place. And I told her what she needed to do. And she has since then thought that was her story. And in fact, it wasn't her story. It was in fact something that I learned from somebody else. And when I told the original story the other day on a meeting, Jen went, "Oh, I thought that was me." And the story was, and it came up yesterday. And I think this is what someone said yesterday that they found was inspirational, the story that I told them. Because I said at the moment, you're going to need courage. You're going to need courage in your business, because there's stuff you're going to have to do when you get back that is scary. If you find out you need to raise your prices, if you find out you need to get rid of the deadwood, if you find out you need to get rid of the clients that you don't make money out of, the wet cuts, the kids, all these things that you're not making money of, the team member that's a dead loss, right? I saw someone, I'm going to whisper this, I don't think they're on the group. I saw someone the other day that was paying a stylist £1,300 a month, and they were only generating £300 a week. Tell me how that works. Okay? Exactly. So anyway, if you need to make some some courageous decisions with some team members that aren't producing. And if you haven't figured out what they need to produce, that's another thing you need to sit down and do. If you don't understand what's they're truly costing you, that's another thing you need to do. But anyway, there's a story about a gentleman called Richard John, who I showed people some pictures of the other day, because, and if I can find it quickly, I'll show you, because it's lovely. This dear friend of mine has just turned 70. And I'll put up, can you all see that picture?
Yeah. I love his.
So he's sitting there in his garden, right? And that painting in front of him was done by a local artist. If I could try and bring that in.
Yeah.
He owns an arcade, a whole arcade of shops in Worthing and 2 salons in Worthing. He's also admiral of the local sailing club. That's why he's sitting there in his admiral's outfit, right? And you've met him, you know, he's a real character. It's a lovely character, runs a lovely business, and they are very successful, his salons. But when he joined 365, and why I told this story yesterday is because there's some people out there that have got to make some brave decisions. They've got to be courageous in their business, and they've got to understand and be courageous and do what they need to be right. They know is right, instead of going, oh, I can't do that. Okay. The story was, and this is the true story that happened to Jen, because I then did it to Jen, but this was the original story, Jen. All right.
So I'm a second, is what you're saying.
Well, no, you were repurposed. That's all.
Charity shop.
He joined Richard joined 365, 35, 36 years ago. He was one of the first members of 365. And our founder, Leslie Spears, who was one of the most inspirational speakers I have ever heard, very difficult man to talk to. You couldn't go and have a drink with Leslie because his mind was even more bonkers than mine, but truly inspirational man. And he sat down with Richard and he said, Richard, you need to double your prices. Double your prices. And you and I had a similar conversation, didn't we, Jen? He said, you need to double your prices. And Richard said, I can't double my prices. He said, don't be stupid. That's ridiculous. I'll go out of business. And Leslie said to him, you're going out of business anyway. So what do you want? Quick death or slow death? Because your business is dying anyway. And Richard is a gambler. He just goes for it. He goes for it. Absolutely goes for it. He owns the freehold of his properties. He owns the freehold of the whole of the arcade. He's had debt coming out of his ears over his life. But he makes the right decisions.
Yeah.
He takes the right gambles and makes courageous decisions. And he said to Leslie, what have I got to lose? He said, I'm going out of business anyway, I'll go for it. And he doubled his prices. And I think last Christmas, he did something like 25, 30 grand's worth of retail in the 4 weeks of Christmas. Retail in the 4 weeks of Christmas. He owns 2 salons that compete against themselves in the town. There's a Tony and Guy and a couple of other people in the town. They're not even in it as far as Richard's concerned. Richard has got Worthing sewn up. But it comes from courage. He charges the highest prices in the town, way above anybody else. It's courage. He says, we are the best. You pay for the best. And they don't, cut corners and discount. They don't do any of that sort of stuff. And yet I saw someone the other day. This is where I get hurt. I saw someone the other day and they were talking about what they're going to do when they get back in the business. And they were saying, how do we do this? How do we factor in PPE? And how do we program in student discounts? And I'm thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? You mean when you get back, you're going to offer student discounts? I'm going to swear, Jen, get a bloody life.
Was that it? I was expecting the F word.
When you just think, fortunately, they weren't a member of 365. They were just on another group that I kind of spy on. And I'm thinking, somebody needs to talk to that person. Yeah. Because they're not getting the situation. When you come out of this, you can't do that stuff. You're going to need every penny that comes into your till. And I don't know if you saw the post last night. Can't remember his name. Who actually has put a PPI on for his customers, and he told his customers about it. And he said, we're going to have a PPI PPI surcharge, but a certain percentage of that would go to a local charity. and his customers emailed him back and said, great idea, totally understand it, wonderful charity, we're all behind you.
Yeah.
Happy days. And yet people are going, oh, well, I'm going to have to, am I going to, you know, those businesses that weren't making money have now got extra costs coming their way. And it's a choice whether you pass those on or not, or how you pass them on and what you do, or whether you absorb them. Absolute cost. But if you weren't making money before this, you won't be making money after.
No, absolutely.
Have I been too gloomy?
No.
I feel like I've kicked ass, Jen, but
You're a kick-ass Ken.
we've got to at times, though, Jen.
I know.
Because I get concerned. You know, and actually, I look at our high street. I went down to my high street the other day. You know how old I am, so I'm not allowed out much. I went down or I walked around the town, and I'm thinking it looked really sad. You will have seen it. Shops that have had no love and attention for 3-4 months. They've been closed. They all look like they need redecorating, refurbishing, and bringing back into life.
Yeah.
It's not going to be cheap to kickstart the industry. I mean, retail as a whole. Shops, when they reopen, shoe shops, any shop, they're not going to be able to sell the amount that they did before because of the way they've got to operate. The money's not going to come pouring back in. We have to also understand there's going to be people that won't want to come out because they're scared of going out. They're apprehensive of coming out. I told you, I went into the supermarket for the first time, last week. I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. And it's terrible, but we are fearful of that. Your team are going to be fearful of that. You're going to have issues with your team, which we haven't got time to deal with today, but we'll talk about that another time. There's stuff you need to understand that could happen with your team and what you're planning to do and what they might want or not want to do. And all those issues will be our big issues over the next few weeks, Jen, is our team supporting, managing and dealing with the challenges of bringing a team back into Salon, because if it's not as easy as opening the doors.
No, I agree. So on that note,
were there any questions we needed to answer quickly or not?
No, I've never discounted. We don't do under 12s or wet cuts, etc. Over 12s are full.
Right now, Nicole's just put one up. Hello, Nicole. It's interesting. She's put there. I read an article in a salon that was discounting all their services when they open, which they shouldn't do. Sorry, it's just gone off my page now. But she said about they were discounting.
Can you see it on the
Okay, you got it there. They were doing NHS stuff. I go along with the NHS stuff. I get that one totally. And if anyone's got a scheme that they've got for NHS staff or any of the people that have been serving us during this, absolutely. I'm not saying that. Please don't think I'm saying that.
No.
But when you've got the Tuesday colour thing or those have got to go out the door. But that salon's going to be in trouble. Salon that is discounting all their services when they open and offering free haircuts and cutting hair. The colours, what you want to do with NHS staff, I'm certainly not going to rant against at all, because those people need all the thanks we can give them. Jesus, boy, I wouldn't have liked to have worked in the NHS during this, would you?
Right.
Angel, absolutely. I just hope, and it's going to sound political, I just hope that the government have got the ability when they come out of this to reward the NHS workers, to put them on the sort of salaries that those guys absolutely deserve.
They've managed to pull out all this money for us from somewhere.
Correct. And actually, if you think about that, there's a payback to that. We're going to end up paying it back. And if we end up paying it back because we want to pay it to the NHS, just pay it back. Yeah. You know what? Because there's people out there that have lost family. There's people out there that have had family saved. There are people out there that have still got people being cared for by the NHS. God knows where we'd have been without them. God knows where we would have been if we didn't have a state-funded service. Can you imagine if we'd all be claiming off insurance policies like in America and things like that? Doesn't bear thinking of.
Doesn't indeed. Ken, thank you so much, as always, for spending the morning with us and sharing the inside of your wonderful brain. We really appreciate it.
I'll shut it again now.
You are free to go top up your tan in the garden for the rest.
Oh, no sun here today. I've got some more meetings later, but now it's raining, which is sad. But there you go.
I like rain. It's like get shit done time when the rain's on.
I get that, but I know I've had enough of it. I don't like rain at the moment. I like at the end of the day when I've sat in front of a screen for probably 6 hours. Yeah. I like a piece of cake, cup of tea, and sit outside. But hey ho, I'm boring.
Well, listen, lots of love. I will wait for you next Tuesday at the Zoomers meeting. I will
see you there.
And for the rest of you, I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Take care. Bye-bye for now.
Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.